what is more important. You see, it's how he says it more than what it is. You see in verse number 59, he says, but first, and that's it. What Christ hears. Christ hears, but first, I am first. Christ is first. Christ is first. No one can serve God wholeheartedly without Jesus being first. And that goes for any situation. Even something this important. Christ must come first. So why don't do that? Well, then don't lie to yourself and say that you are. Don't tell yourself you're spiritually or wholeheartedly living for God if He can't be first. The third guy he talks to is already called. He's already in the works. He says in verse 60, he said, or in verse 61, he says, and the Lord said, I will follow thee, but let me first go and bid them farewell which are at home in my house. And Jesus said unto him, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. This man simply burned out. This man simply backslidden is our Baptist word for it. This man was working for Christ. And then he thought back to his prior life. I don't know how many times I've done that. I don't know how many times God's had my feet to the coal and had me working and had me in something and boy, glory was coming out of it for Him. People were getting saved. The seed was being planted. And the devil would go, simply take my nose and turn it to the things how they used to be. You remember when you could just do whatever you wanted to? You remember when you could go anywhere you wanted to? You remember when you could live the way you wanted to? You remember how much easier that was? You remember how no matter what you wasn't disappointed because you wasn't preaching to people and they wouldn't. I mean, you ought to see us up there handing out invitations. That's one of the coolest things you can do. Or watch our kids do. They'll be handing out invitations and the red light come out and they'll go out to a car and you're shaking it at the window like this and people will roll up their window, you know. Our kids will still be chasing them. They're great. What's that? And Brandy, she'll just go. Scared them half to death. Thought one day was going to wreck because Brandy hit the window and she hit the gas. There's a lot of disappointment though that comes in with serving Christ. And he looks for something. Satan is looking for something to happen or for that plow to get bumped or really dig in there real hard. And you have to really work that plow. And that's when he says, let's go take a break. Let's go take a vacation from this. There's no vacation from this. There's no retirement from serving Christ. Not even when we get to heaven. Say you want to go to heaven. Do you want to go to heaven just because you don't want to go to hell? Some people do. Some people only want to go to heaven because they don't want to go to hell. But then there's some that love Christ. They want to be wherever He is. Well, right now, He's here, leading us here in this world. You have to count the cost. You have to have your priorities right. You have to have your priorities right. And you have to be focused on this one. He can't have you looking over here and looking over there if you're going to do this right here. You can't follow Christ if you're not watching Christ. You can't follow Christ and watch Satan. You just can't do it. There's a question. If Jesus was standing here today, and He knew your heart. He knows what you do. He knows what you do when you leave here. And He stood up here and said, I want all of my wholehearted disciples to come up. How many would get to come up? Wholehearted disciples. Those are the ones, there's no question they're going to heaven. I mean, their work just continues. You can see them. Their work, their following Christ just continuously leads them to things you see. You can just tell. There's people that they're not going to be able to jump up and run up here. They may say, I think I met. Do I count? We'll hear some words they really don't want to hear one day. Called turn from me, you worker of iniquity, for I never knew you. But I did and did and did. But you didn't. You never truly surrendered. Then you beat around the bush. You was real close a couple times. But you never really committed. You never really give me your heart. And that's all I ask for. Jesus says in Luke chapter 6, verse 24, He talks about the rich and their money and all they've got. The people that's got all this food in the house and all these clothes. And He says, guess what? This is your consolation. Consolation. Luke chapter 6, verse 24, you can look it up. Consolation. Consolation for what? Well, the wholehearted, truly saved. Jesus said He will call me in the air. He will take them to heaven. Take all the pain, burden, problems, all the sickness and death and goodbyes, all the disappointment and discouragement, all these bad things that Satan has brought to this earth, He's going to take them all away. You can see and smell and taste and hear like you've never done before. No longer will you be in a physical body, but in a spiritual body. And you will be with Him for eternity. Now, the consolation is that, in other words, if you don't want to be saved today, your consolation is whatever you can get. Whatever you can get. So you don't need to waste your time in church. You better go get what you can get. So that's your consolation. It's the greatest thing you can get. Whatever you can get on this earth. And forever, how long it will last. For those who will be wholeheartedly saved today before we see Christ. Every head bowed and